Last Pine Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, but hold on a second. What happened to those fancy introductions they used to do? Haven't heard one of those in a while. Come to think of it, they use the same intro for their little special edition episodes every week. And what's with this release schedule? No episodes for 8 months and then 10 pop up overnight? Feels good to bitch about the New Way again. Listener discretion is advised.
I think that people would like to hear some sort of reassuring news from someone that knows the industry better than most. I mean, what do you think is going to come out of the state of theaters? Is movie-going going to be the same? Is it going to be okay coming out of this?
Well, I'm an optimist about it. People like shared experiences. So, these things are, as we talked about, they're all going to change. They're going to be different. But that doesn't mean they're going to go away.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the New Way podcast, coming to you from Boynton Beach, Florida. The New Way, where we break down pop culture so you don't have to. I am your host, Matt Shank, joined across the airwaves by Mr. Benjamin Scott Wilson.
Oh, hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
We've been kind of sporadic in our recording. Finally caught up, and you guys probably saw a mess of episodes just fall out one after another, which I think Ryan listened to in a row immediately upon them dropping, which is very flattering. But yeah, we had a little time off and had to get some editing done and whatnot. But we're back, and we'll be hopefully back to some more regular podcasts coming at you in the near future.
Yeah, got some good topics, some good ideas, things like that. But yeah,
did you say somewhat good ideas?
Somewhat good ideas.
just somewhat. We can't promise them to be good ideas. Just somewhat. They're passable. They're ideas.
Casually amusing ideas.
They have been accurately called ideas, and that's as much as we can actually guarantee anyone out there. We're gonna have kind of an off-kilter episode, I think, today, which is gonna be just more of a free-form discussion on sort of a generalized topic. Before we get to that, I realize, because we haven't done this in a while, there's kind of a lot of stuff we've been catching up on. I kind of want to find out things that maybe Ben has been taking a look at, and I've taken a look at it. I know we shared a viewing experience of the new Bill and Ted movie on Monday night this week. What was your overall feeling of the movie, Ben?
I actually spoke with Nick afterwards, and I likened it to this. It was like a sweet piece of candy. It was completely disposable, but while you're eating it, it's so delicious and satisfying.
Yeah, it was. It's one of those movies that it's not. I wouldn't say it's uproariously funny, other than I think
a few moments. There are a few moments.
The robot pretty much steals every single scene. Which I looked up the actor that plays him, who is in Barry, that plays the Russian hitman, the bald Russian hitman, and then also plays a hitman in Gotham, Victor Zsasz. Who's just
and then also plays a hitman in Bill and Ted.
Yes, exactly. He's been typecast, but he is absolutely hysterical in the movie. It's an entertaining story, really, and that's kind of the best thing I can say about it. Is that it's kind of a compelling, interesting thing to see where they take these characters.
Well, the one thing that is really endearing about the Bill and Ted universe is that all three movies, even though these span, over 33 years at this point from their initial inception, they were written by the same duo.
Yeah.
And it's very clear, the cadence is still there. Their love for those characters is still there. It still feels very organic, within its own universe. And so, especially after watching the other two back to back on consecutive days, it was fun to see it's new, but it's not. It's still just that same kind of goofy, thing.
Yeah. Well, and also the fact that they have their cameos in every one of the movies, and every time they're playing it's ugly waiter, dumb waiter, and then it's ugly seance member, dumb seance member, and now it's ugly demon, dumb demon,
Right.
or ugly demon, stupid demon. Which
Well, they're actually in all of the movies multiple times. If you notice,
yeah, okay, but they have
like,
their main thing is
like
being
they're
billed as
the
the ugly and stupid.
Ziggy Piggy, Ziggy. They're those
Yeah.
guys in the first movie. They're the gay couple in the new movie at one point that like sit down at the couch.
Oh,
together
yeah.
to like watch TV. It's they're pretty funny how they kind of inject themselves into it.
Yeah, they seem to have a good sense of humor. I guess apparently this was the whole Bill and Ted universe was built on a sketch idea back in the day, and it was Bill. I think it was Bill and Ted and Bob. There was a third character, and they pared that down and turned that into the movies. But yeah, that I think also my other favorite piece of, because like I did the same as you. I watched the other movies leading up to it, and I was reading the trivia on it. I love the creation of Station in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Was a gaff.
It was a
screenwriting
hanging
gaff.
it was a hanging. They had written a location that was supposed to be police station, and then they deleted the scene. And hold on a second, I think I'm gonna sneeze, but I'm not sure.
Let me finish the story
Okay,
for you.
go
So
ahead.
all it said in the script was randomly, like not even as an exterior whatever, but it just said randomly at one point in the script, it just said station. And so it became a long running joke for them that every episode would be, there would be, and then the first one, it's just like casually thrown away. Like Bill is like, yeah, we're going to do that. Ted's like station.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a quick little,
You have no idea what this is, but they're like, yeah, we
you're like,
accidentally left this in our.
Why did he say station? And then in the second one, you have everybody saying station. You have the guy from Faith No More being like
Yeah.
station, and you name a character station. And then in this one, you still have people just saying station, all
Yeah.
over the fucking place.
That's a pretty great committal to just a
Random
mistake.
gag.
Just pretty awesome. Yeah, it was good, and it's I'm curious to see how it performs. I think it's one of those movies also that it probably will perform better on demand than it would have in the theaters, I think, and we'll get to that kind of in our discussion a little bit later
Yeah, I
on.
think
That's
so.
going to tie in. I watched the new Bond trailer today. Ben, what were your thoughts on the new Bond trailer?
Well, my first thought was like, hold back a little bit because you're blowing your load all over the place. I was like, if they're holding back with the new trailer, then it's just going to be even more fucking nuts than people imagined.
I still believe they're holding back on some things. I think they probably have some surprises up their sleeves. But yeah, it's I think the opening gag in it is maybe my favorite one, of the car coming at him and he ducks behind like a little pylon and the car goes over, and which you could tell is like a very practical looking stunt, but
Yeah.
it's just also just so impressive to see even just a little thing like that. It's it looks like they're throwing the kitchen sink out for his last outing on this. And I'm there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm there.
And we were talking about it a little bit. Like, I think it's interesting with the Bond franchise. It's really one of the only franchises that's been continually successful in what would be the original kind of definition of reboot. And it's essentially every Bond franchise, every new Bond brings his decades kind of, swagger or whatever. Brosnan was definitely the Bond of the 90s. Timothy Dalton was the Bond of the 80s going into 90s for the three movies that he did, which were
was
the no
emo
nonsense
Bonds.
Bond. Yeah, there's no time for love, no time for any of this. There's no nonsense Bond. Roger Moore is like the swing, like coming out of the swinging 70s into the ridiculous 80s. Like every one of them has kind of their niche, which I think is kind of amazing for a franchise to be able to do that just through their casting and who they choose to direct and what kind of stories they choose to tell. But yeah, I'm excited for.
I mean, I do have some umbrage with Nick saying that Daniel Craig is the best Bond, because I think that all Bonds bring something to the table, except for George Lazenby.
He brought a new lame name to the table, and that's all he needed to do. Yeah, I mean, he had it. A lot of people hate Dalton. They don't like the Dalton movies, which
But that's because the movies may not be that great. But I like Dalton as Bond because
Yeah.
he was a killer.
Yeah, he was
Like
just
you
very
said.
cold. Just like this is it. I'm a spy. Like everyone likes to think that Daniel Craig invented the cold, the cold calculating bond. I'm like, no. You'd go what Craig
No, you watch-
versus Dalton is like that's a weird battle right there.
Yeah, if you watch License to Kill, it's yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm curious to see, and then I'm curious to see where they go after it. I mean, I think they really, we've done a lot of like the straight up white British dudes. I think definitely, the talk for a long time was Idris Elba, which I think would be a fascinating.
Idris Elba's almost as old as Daniel Craig.
Yeah, but listen, none of them are nearly as old as Roger Moore, and he did like 5 of those things when he was like a grandpa. So,
It's true.
I don't see old when I look at Idris Elba. I think he could pull it off, but
That's
but-
racist.
listen. So also I didn't even know this until yesterday. I don't know why I didn't realize this was happening so soon, but there's a new Charlie Kaufman movie dropping on Netflix in a few hours from right now. Which I'm super excited that there's a new Charlie Kaufman movie and I'm going to be able to watch it this weekend. And I've already forgotten the name of it. It's like
It's called, I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Thinking of Anything. So that's correct. And it's one that he directed, which means it could go any direction. You really don't know because he can be a little bit crazy with his own directed works. But
Well, sure. I've heard. I mean, unostensively, I've heard it's basically his take on a horror film, which is interesting. And I've heard it compared a lot, strangely enough, to Amy Semitz's film "She Dies Tomorrow," which was released last month in like drive-in theaters and stuff like that, and is now available on demand. I'm probably going to watch Amy's movie first. I was waiting for it to come for free on Hulu, which originally it was supposed to, but now it hasn't for some reason. So I think I'm going to rent it this weekend. Just because that movie apparently is amazing and has actually gotten better reviews than the Kaufman movie altogether.
I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah, but apparently they're kind of an interesting kind of yin and yang, where I think that Kaufman plays a lot with the gleefully sort of macabre dark, where Amy's movie is more of like a straight up kind of very, very depressing
Oh,
kind of noir thriller,
okay.
but with absurdity. That
Okay.
is strangely funny.
We'll I'm
see.
interested. I will have to check out both of these.
Yeah. It'd be
Yeah.
an interesting double feature, but
Yeah, it sounds like a real pick me up Saturday to unravel your mind in these two dark movies back
Listen.
to back.
listen, Matt, if we're going to fulfill our suicide Kobe pact,
Yeah, I know.
then let's just watch those movies.
Hey,
and
just
after
be
that.
done right there. Just get the Kool-Aid right after that.
Yeah, there you go.
Other terrible movie news. The new Batman. Highs and lows. The trailer for the Batman came out, which is phenomenal.
It's great.
It looks great and looks like exactly I think what a lot of people were thinking it would be and what Matt Reeves would do and Pattinson. And now Robert Pattinson has COVID and they've shut down production on the movie again, which is really shitty. So hopefully a speedy recovery for Mr. Pattinson and getting back in that movie. Cause the fact also that I knew that Colin Farrell was in the trailer and not recognizable, but I thought he was a different, not recognizable person than he was. But
Interesting.
he is I thought he was the bearded, the mayor dude. And I was like, oh, that must be like him under a bunch of prosthetics. And I found out it's the guy that looked so natural. And everyone is making a lot of jokes that they think they're like, why did they get Colin Farrell to play Richard Kind in the new Batman
Right.
movie? Because he looks and sounds a great deal like Richard Kind. But yeah, his penguin does not look recognizable. He's some of the only dialogue in the trailer saying, "Man, this guy is crazy." And then you can kind of hear the Colin Farrell coming out there, but it looks awesome. I think, yeah.
I may be misquoting the actual title, but I've also been really following closely the casting of another film, which I believe is called. It's funny because we were just talking about Kaufman. It's what led me to think about it. but I think it's called The Unbearable Burden of Endless Endless Talent. No, The Remarkable Burden of Boundless Talent, or something along those lines, which is a new film starring Nicolas Cage, playing Nicolas Cage, the actor, about him, a washed-up actor, Nicolas Cage, trying to get a role in the new Quentin Tarantino movie. And
the title, by the way, is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Okay, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Hey, that's not bad.
No, that's just an hysterical title. Yeah.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And the premise of it, and I've been following the casting of it, and to me, it sounds like the movie that Charlie Kaufman, like a spiritual successor to Charlie Kaufman. Like, oh no, I'm like, it's writing Nicolas Cage as an actor, trying to get this role, and then having to go through like some sort of like adaptation-esque spy shit or something like over the course of the movie. Apparently it's crazy.
All I see, the only other actor I show attached, at least on IMDb, is Pedro Pascal. So it's Nick Cage in The Mandalorian. Nick Cage playing Nick Cage. But yeah, that sounds.
And who's the director?
Tom Gormican. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Tom. Yeah, he has not done a lot.
Okay.
He wrote the TV show Ghosted.
I believe it was a Blacklist script.
Yeah.
But apparently a lot of people have been talking about like this, how this could be like a really fun, not a swan song, because obviously, I mean, Cage probably still has plenty of B movies left in them, but like a very, very great sort of, again, a yin and yang of adaptation of him sort of aping reality in a way that is funny and, kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board for Nick Cage playing Nick Cage is really all I needed to hear out of that at all.
Exactly.
Anything else is just extra fluff. The other one, I'm trying to remember, Ben, if you brought this up or not. But I saw it. It was in the trades a lot today, and I always like when these things get floated because it's obvious that it's the person trying to get this kind of rumor running or whatever it is. But Mike Flanagan, who's the director and writer of The Haunting of Hill House, which we've talked about.
Which also had a trailer for the Haunting of Bly Manor, which came out recently. Did you see that?
I have not watched the trailer yet. I will have to watch that soon.
It's excellent.
I'm excited. I mean, we've talked about Haunting of Hill House a few times.
The thing I love about Mike Flanagan is also it's just like, if you've seen one horror trailer, you've kind of seen them all. Like they play on very usual tropes, and they're very commonly they've got that one jump scare or whatever.
Yeah.
But there are these great moments within the course of the trailer where it's very pretty. It's very, very pretty looking, as he's a very pretty filmmaker. Sure. But there's a moment at the end where you're just expecting a jump scare, and instead you get the exact opposite reaction. And I'm like, oh, that's badass.
I will have to watch this.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, so he's apparently fishing right now to get the Dark Tower. Which basically the interview going today is he said it's
a Mike Flanagan Dark Tower would be the
he said this has been his lifelong dream. He's watched it get so close so many times. He's been so excited, but he goes, can you imagine adapting any better set of novels? This is his white whale. I think if Bly House works, I think this is the thing that could potentially get him that on, running that on Netflix or somewhere else.
Well, I mean, because Hill House was so good. If Bly Manor works well, I mean, the thing is Dr. Sleep was an expensive movie that didn't perform well. It was kind of a bomb at the box office, but it wasn't marketed well because I don't think they knew what they had with the movie. And the director's cut, I don't know if you've watched it, Matt.
I haven't yet, no.
About 3 hours long. But it's really such an exceptional film. I mean, I would straight up say, I believe maybe sans Misery, it's the best Stephen King adaptation of a book. And it does change a lot of stuff. It takes its own path, especially in the last act. 'Cause I've read the book, but he's such an exceptionally talented filmmaker, and really, like, I'm just because I've liked all the movies that he's done. I liked Oculus when that first came out. I remember thinking that was a very surprising horror movie that I liked a lot. I love Gerald's Game when that came out on Netflix. I thought that was really good. But yeah, when I was watching Haunting of Hill House, I was just like, man, this is a fucking masterclass in horror. It's just so good and so well made. And
you brought it up before. It's not even just a masterclass in horror. It's a masterclass in adaptation and true adaptation of, I'm going to take source material, I'm going to subvert the expectations of that, but do it in a pleasing way that still feels and matches the source. You know, it's a really great job.
It's a really there was lots of reinterpretation. There was lots of aping of other properties, which he said from the get go. I mean, like Bly Manor is basically like, oh, I'm not just taking one Shirley Jackson property, I'm taking all of them. Like I'm combining all of these different things. And I'm taking elements of that and then also making it my own narrative and my own. I mean, the thing is Haunting of Hill House was ultimately, in the Netflix adaptation, became a story about a family breaking apart and then coming back together.
Yeah.
And or in the repercussions, the individual repercussions of that family breaking apart and coming back together, and really of mental illness and a lot of other things along those lines too. And if they keep the same thing with Bly Manor, I don't understand how it's not going to be a runaway hit for Netflix. I mean, honestly, Dr. Sleep would have worked better as a miniseries.
Yeah.
Had that been a miniseries on Netflix, it would have been a fucking runaway hit. But instead, it was this big screen adaptation that doesn't have the usual trappings of the jump scares or any of that type of stuff. It was more of a, and the bad guys in the movie, if you, not to hope everyone's seen Dr. Sleep. If you haven't, it's been on HBO for a while, and go watch it because it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. Ewan McGregor.
Did you watch the director's cut?
I watched the director's cut after I've seen the theatrical cut twice, and I watched the director's cut once.
Yeah, I'm going to track down the director's cut.
It's about half an hour longer, and it's definitely got some scenes really fleshed out that really, I think it adds a lot to I mean, it's all character work. I mean, there's no, it's not like they cut out a big set piece. They kept all the set pieces in, but it's just all additional character work. But
nice.
The character work is so good in those movies, and it just builds these I don't even know if I would classify the film Dr. Sleep as a horror film. To me, it's just a straight up supernatural drama.
Yeah, interesting.
But it's an impactful one. It really I really love that film a lot, and it does things that are just so you saw the theatrical cut, right?
I've not. I've been waiting to watch this.
Well, not to spoil too much, but there's a scene. Jacob Tremblay, the Academy Award nominated actor, Jacob Tremblay, has a scene where, let's just say it's it's going to be rough, and then it turns into something 10 times as disturbing as you could ever see in any horror film, and it's not based off of gore. It's just based off of emotion and feeling. And a fantastic performance by Rebecca Ferguson and Jacob Tremblay in the scene. But it's a phenomenal film. I really think it's one of my favorite movies of last year.
Wow. Yeah, you mentioned it a couple times now.
Yeah, it's so excited. Like I said, I'm such a huge fan of Mike Flanagan, and so I hope it does well. And if he gets a shot to do Dark Tower, I mean, and the thing is I really think you could do every book in like 3 or 4 episodes. And so make it like one season is book 1 and 2, like is the Gunslinger. Make one season that's 3 and 5. If you're going to do a movie of any of it, make a movie of 4. Which is Wizard and Glass, which is my favorite. The
whole like switching between TV, just do give that its own like
I'm just
season
saying,
or whatever.
That one book
Yeah.
make sense as a movie because it's a very like contained narrative. It doesn't feel like it feels like something that should be a movie.
Gotcha.
But it exists in this bigger universe. But I'm saying you could release it as a movie on Netflix.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
have 4 episodes, movie, four
Movie,
episodes,
gotcha.
4 episodes, something like that. You know, like do it
Interesting.
that way. And yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't make I made it through the first couple Dark Tower books. It just I couldn't quite keep along with it. But I was also like, well, I'm reading it, I'm like, this I would rather be watching this, I think, than reading it, which is not always the case. I'm usually not like that with Stephen King. I usually really like to kind of dive into those novels, but something about those books was tricky for me.
Well, I mean, The Gunslinger, especially, which is the first film or first novel, it's kind of tough to get through just because it's so sparse and so Western influenced that not a whole lot happens.
Then the second one gets like they get so progressively progressively and aggressively strange.
Yeah.
In the middle of like, it's not even like, oh, this book, like one book is like this and then the next book's a little different. It's like in the middle of the book, it changes like the genre of what's happening, and just
And all of a sudden there's time travel. And
and you're in the middle of like a completely different location with a completely different mission with completely different things, and I was just like, okay, I get that. It was a little too scattered for my little lizard brain.
Well, I mean, the
Couldn't
second
quite
book
deal with
is where you're introduced to the other of the three, which
Yes.
is where all the other characters, the heroin addict from like the
Yes.
80s, and then the civil rights, advocate from the 50s, and they all kind of come together. And it's
It's
interesting.
very weird. the beach stuff took me a long time to get through in that second book.
He gets his hand eaten by crabs.
Yes, I did not like that at all. And then I did not like that we had to continue on when I had to try to load his gun with like nub fingers. I don't know. There's something bizarre about it. Talking about good performances that might have been overlooked. I know I didn't watch this show when it was on. I just caught up with it a few weeks ago, but I watched the morning show, which was the Apple Plus series with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and Steve Carell, basically with Carell being essentially a Matt Lauer character that winds up having a sexual harassment, basically getting canceled and fired for sexual harassment. The surprise for me in this, and then I realized he wound up getting an Emmy nomination, and deservedly so, is Billy Crudup coming out of nowhere with one of the best performances of the year for me. Just absolutely killing it in the show in a what should have been a very like one note character. But Crudup has kind of that. It's the first time since Almost Famous that I got that like that Russell Sly smile when he like knows something that the other person doesn't know, or when he's bullshitting someone. He pulls that off, and he does it in a like almost as a mask in this, where it's keeping you from ever knowing what's going on, which also made me think, holy shit, Billy Crudup would make a fucking terrifying Joker in a movie, just watching kind of what he does in this show. But if you're gonna watch it, I think it's worth the 10 episodes. It's not anything you don't really see coming, but Crudup just fucking kills it.
Except as opposed to burning money and just wanting to watch the world burn. Billy Crudup's Joker, why would he want to live in a world that he no longer has any stake in?
A world with no stake in it. I will still always remember that joke. That's a Reddit joke that Ben read, or not Reddit. It was your
Rotten Tomatoes,
joke about Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan said, "Why would I no longer live in a world I no longer have any stake in?" And somebody photoshopped it to be an ad for Omaha Steaks, and it was.
And it's very,
was
very
wonderful.
funny. And so before we get into our topic, to unfortunately bring it down a little bit, but I definitely want to kind of discuss it and talk about it. We lost an actor this week who it turns out was an even better human being than anyone even already thought they were. But Chadwick Boseman passed away from stage 4 colon cancer. She's been battling for 4 years with no one knowing. And that's a tough thing to do in this day and age when you are a mega movie star.
So before we actually talk about him,
Yeah.
I'm interested in the no one knowing thing, because I'm assuming that like Ryan Coogler and probably I'm assuming that
I can answer your question. So at least
okay.
as far as what has been said, Feige didn't know, Marvel didn't know, Coogler didn't know. The guy that directed 42 knew, because they were really good friends. His cousin and like manager, but it was like a tiny circle, and then a few people started to get some ideas of things towards the end. But Feige literally says he got an email saying, "Hey, there is major news coming from Chadwick Boseman's camp," and then he goes, an hour later he found out that he was dead. Like that was literally like they did not know, which is I mean crazy. And he to his credit, his thing was he thought that he was gonna he had gotten very skinny. He lost a lot of weight, and he was starting to, I think, feel better. He thought he was going to he was getting ready to start putting weight back on to start training to do Black Panther 2, and get ready for shooting that. But you look back now on this guy's career, he was visiting children's hospitals, cancer wards. He broke down multiple times talking about kids that like were looking up to him, that they got to see the movie early because they were worried they weren't going to live long enough to see the movie, and he got very choked up about that. And you're watching this, you're like, oh my god, this guy is literally dealing with his own mortality at every time he's talking about these kids, talking about this legacy of this movie. And not to say that Black Panther is the culmination, the greatest work he's ever put on screen. And I saw a lot of people also kind of like shitting on that, though, which I didn't like either. Like Black Panther was an extremely important movie for a lot of reasons. And I think people that kind of dismiss that are missing a point of like how much that meant to a large part of the population out there that saw themselves on screen really in that kind of positive light for the first time. And to have the guy playing and be such a role model and just someone that was clearly on the side of good and oh yeah, may have frozen up there for just a moment.
That's fine.
But yeah, just someone that was, obviously just wanted to give back to the community and took that responsibility, literally the mantle of the Black Panther, took it so seriously. And I think that's another reason why that movie is what it is everyone doing that movie felt they were making an important movie. It wasn't just a giant comic book movie or a big summer franchise. It was an important movie to them.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I don't think it's disparaging of his acting or his entire career talents, which were on display in various films, but it's clear that he's going to be remembered as as one of the seminal characters in the first phases of the Marvel universe, and the first major film aside from Blade, where people could relate to that main character. And that's the thing about Blade, is that Blade was I think groundbreaking in and of its time in 1999, even though Matt couldn't get through that movie.
I mean, eventually I sort of did. I felt a little, I was at Turkey. It was Thanksgiving Day and I was a little tired from the turkey.
It's true. He was a little tired of the turkey, but also just wasn't feeling it. He wasn't feeling the Blade.
Yeah, I was not.
Which I think Blade's a good movie, but it was the first time where the entire cast was populated by people who had never really seen themselves represented on screen in a way that was empowering like that. And I think that's seminally important. So kudos. I mean, obviously I think it's a great film. But I also think that it's important, especially with a guy like Chadwick Boseman, to have a legacy with a character like that, because it makes it that much more empowering for future generations.
Sure.
I don't think it's a detriment that maybe it wasn't his best work, or maybe you may not consider it his most artful film that he was
Sure.
a part of, or it may not have, maybe, yeah, of course he was better, or The Five Bloods is a better movie. But, in 50 years, people are going to remember that performance as Black Panther.
Oh yeah, and it's. I mean, he really just it's. Sometimes it seems like the one thing Marvel does in some of their movies that work the best is when they really imbue the characters with the people they cast as them. Robert Downey Jr. brings that addictive behavior to Tony Stark, and you feel that that's true. And I think you feel that Black Panther is this character that is built on goodness and representing their nation and bringing their world to the other world. And I mean, I think he really just exemplified that. And I think, right now, a lot of people have talked about what is the future of the Black Panther series. And, and I know a lot of people also have been like, oh, it's too soon, and don't, and I'm like, I don't think they're going to recast. I think everyone's kind of talked about what the sort of the logical way to go is. And I think it would be a very poetic and beautiful way to go, which is his sister, Shuri.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
In the comics, it makes sense. It also makes sense to bring in a female character into taking up.
I mean, it happened in the comics. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you can actually write sort of that art imitating life, imitating art idea with a young Black woman taking up this role. I think it's going to be something that, because that's the important thing, is that that franchise is important to keep going on. I think a lot of people have been.
I agree.
Like you can't. How could you talk about recasting? He's the only one. Like no. It has to exist beyond him, because that's a disservice to him if it doesn't. It can't end with him. So yeah, I hope they really go that path and bring her on and make that the way they go, because I think that's also, it's just a rich story. I mean, I think that's a great story.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. But anyways, yeah, obviously, sad, absolutely
Yes.
super sad loss, and way too young. Cancer sucks.
Yes, cancer is terrible. But yeah, rest in peace, rest in power, as they've been saying, which I like as well. Chadwick Boseman, you brought some really phenomenally good movies, and we'll miss you. So on to our topic, which is, as we kind of were just talking a little bit, what is the future of cinema right now? And
We say this after Tenet came out 2 days ago.
Yeah, well, and I think, yeah, and it's like limited release, and I think, does it go full to tomorrow or today?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I have friends who've gone and seen it in theaters. So
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about it as a film, but kind of, the question is, what is the future of film with COVID? And, we asked this question 3 months ago. We kind of a little bit talked about it, and we're farther into this now, and we don't see a lot of, they just opened up movie theaters down here. So they are open back up, and you can go see movies here in South Florida and many places around the United States. But what is actually going to get people back into theaters? Why are people going to go back into theaters? And
well, the number one question, or the number one answer, is the popcorn.
that's it. It is. I do miss movie theater popcorn quite a bit. But I will not share my popcorn. Now I have a great excuse to not ever share my popcorn with anyone else. So
You're like, I would not like a large. I would like a medium.
I would I would like a
All it's in
large, and I'm be 6 feet away from someone else, and you just stay away from me and don't get your hands near here, because I'm just biting. But yeah, I mean, my brother and I talked about it, because that's, and Ben, you and I too, Ben, that's our thing, is to go see movies when we can together.
I've actually, and this is something I've brought up multiple times, maybe not on the normal conversations with you, but one of the biggest detriments of this whole kind of COVID thing is I've lost a lot of like my healthy escapes.
Yeah.
And like my healthy things to do, their outlets. Basically, like I can't play basketball. Like I can't, sports is pretty much out for me, which is I love to play sports. Even just casually, like I love to go and play a pickup game of basketball every Sunday, down at the park with a bunch of kids, or whatever. I'm like, I'm not doing that now, obviously.
Ben likes to school young children on Sunday mornings. He
Hell
calls
yeah,
it
man.
Sunday school with Ben.
I'm White Lightning, man. But no, like I obviously not doing that. I'm not going over to Matt's house to record any of these podcasts. We're doing everything kind of socially distanced, which is another thing that's fun on my end. But yeah, it's been difficult because one of the things that I've always that Matt and I have always enjoyed, and really my wife and I have always enjoyed, and a lot of our friends have enjoyed, just being able to go out and see movies, and just spend an evening, go out, see a movie, kind of disconnect your brain for a while. You don't have to worry about work or shit, which I've had like panic attacks and shit about work for the past like 3 months, just because that's the only thing I can think about if I'm not like, if I can't disconnect. And so, it's that's been really, really difficult. So there's nothing I want more than to sit in a movie theater with a thing of popcorn to turn off my brain. I want to go watch Christopher Nolan's Tenet tomorrow, but I'm not.
Yeah. And I talked to my brother about it, and this is you and I have been at, flirted with this about a month ago for something we'd already seen. But we talked about the drive-in, and for us, like, especially like Nolan movies specifically for my brother and me have been, basically we've seen post Dark Knight almost every one of the Nolan movies together in the theater. And that's always been kind of a big deal for us to go do it. And This is the first time that, we're not going to be able to. And I was like, and he goes,
unless it's around until November, you never know.
Well, and so like, and he said, he goes, I was playing at the drive-in, and I'm like, and the drive-in actually is not a bad, I wish we lived in a colder state, where it's not so hot out, where that can make the drive-in a little bit not, you can leave your car running.
Here's the thing. You can leave your car running at most drive. You can't leave it running at the Hard Rock, but if you're at the normal Lake Worth drive-in, leave the car running, leave the AC on, crank that shit up, you're fine.
Like, yeah, exactly. I think that's where I'm getting to. And he even mentioned that you and I should go down there and go watch Tenet in our respective automobiles and check it out. But like, yeah, I mean, I think drive-in is a half measure to get back there. I also think the drive-in is important to remind people of cinema, so people don't. I think that's the thing that gets that's the hardest thing is the longer you go without going to the theater, the more people are like, why did I ever go to the theater?
I mean, as bad as this thing has been for cinema and theaters overall, man, drive-ins have had a fucking boon. I mean, they have just blown up. And I was actually talking with somebody in McMinnville, Tennessee yesterday, and they were talking about how in Tennessee there's a drive-in theater in Dunlap that they have been threatening to close for like 5 years, and how they were actually planning on closing it this summer, and then COVID hit, and now all of a sudden it's just packed every night, completely full, and they were just like, well, we can't close it now. It's just like people driving from like from like an hour away to go see movies there, because it was the only place you could go see a movie.
Yeah, and I think it is and Tenet has sort of thrown the gauntlet down and been, we are not going to go to on demand. We're not. We are a theater. My movie will be shown in movie theaters, and that's that. And Nolan was firm on it and wasn't going to bump the date or anything. And I'm sure every other studio out there is like, yes, do this so we can watch and find out what happens. Because really, Tenet is the guinea pig for this right now.
Well, but the most amazing this weekend is a social experiment, because we have Tenet in theaters and we have Mulan on demand.
Yes, exactly. And they said those are the two. Yes,
on premium on demand. So it's $30 to rent Mulan, plus you already have to have Disney Plus on top of that.
Yes. And I think they should have waited. I mean, we all knew, I predict, most people predicted eventually it's going to show up on Disney Plus for free, but it's going to show up in Disney Plus in December for free. So that's the tricky thing. And I don't know that they should have announced that date.
No, they shouldn't
before they put this on, because it's way too close. Like right now, I'd love to see the Mulan movie, but it's not worth $30 for me to see it right now. You're not a family of four. I am not.
Because for us to go to the movies, it's already cost like $75.
But so even
I'll make popcorn at home, and
it's not even necessarily the price. Like I paid for Bill and Ted, but like I'm not. It's like if I knew Bill and Ted was coming out in 2 months for free, I might wait and watch Bill and Ted for free on the thing. It's not,
Honestly,
you know.
that was the only reason I feel bad for not supporting it. That was the one reason why I waited instead of watching it opening weekend to wait for Amy Siemens' movie, is because I was like, I think it's on Hulu for free in a couple of weeks, and then it wasn't, and I was just like, oh no, it's $3.99 on Amazon now. So
Yeah, it's like, you know, and that sucks to be thinking about movies in that way. But
you have to think about it as a cost benefit analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, like if Jason Reitman came out tomorrow and was just like, you have one day and you can watch Ghostbusters Afterlife for $100, or you can wait until March of next year, would you do? And I was like, I'll be like, fuck yeah. I mean, like 5 times over. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
there are things. Yeah, and I think that's also what you learn. You learn the value of your movie with this proposition as well. Of like,
Sure.
how bad do people want to see Mulan? I don't know. I mean, I want to see it, but it's, yeah, you're right. If I could watch Ghostbusters, if I think if this pandemic had hit in 2019 and it was affecting Endgame and me seeing Endgame, and someone said like it's going to be $200 for you to watch Endgame, I'm pretty sure I would have paid the $200. Like I think at that point my frenzy was high enough to see this final chapter that like, yeah, I would.
I just imagine you going to see Endgame in a theater in a hazmat suit.
That's the other side. I don't even know what I would possibly do to go to the theater. That would be the ultimate, like, worst case scenario for me. That's my Sophie's choice.
You wear like a fucking gas
Yeah,
mask. You're just like Bane.
like I'd show up
I've
as Bane.
seen all the Marvel movies in the theater.
I was born in the MCU. You merely adopted it.
I was born at the cinema.
Oh,
My
man.
mother birthed me in row 4.
I've been kicked out of movies for way worse than this. Get out of my way. I would just be a hazmat mask, but it'd be filled with popcorn that I like just below eye level that I would just be able to chew on while I muffled breathing. But yeah,
For me, it would have been like the Abyss costume where it's just beer.
That's a great sketch. That's so amazing. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, what is the price of, like, this year happened to be somewhat a good year for like Ghostbusters was probably the biggest thing I was looking forward to, but it also like
Bond and Ghostbusters.
I'm always looking forward to Bond, but not like I don't.
I was
It's not
just
that
looking forward to this
frenzy,
because
like, you
it's
know.
Cary Fukunaga. And it's
Yeah,
I think
like,
it's gonna be.
There are things I want to watch a lot, and then there are things like where I'm like I'm building my summer around this movie. You know, I didn't feel that we had a lot of those this year, so it hasn't hurt me as much that like stuff has gotten pushed. That there's nothing that's gotten pushed that's been like oh my god, like I can't believe I can't see that right now. Ghostbusters is the closest you get. But I'd cap it at $100 to watch Ghostbusters right now. After that, I'm like, yeah, no, I'll unless it was like you were gonna watch it, and we could like go and each $100.
But so to kind of continue on the topic, I mean, I think that I do think that theaters are doing a good job of trying to sort of mitigate. I mean, they're doing all of these like big time sweeps every day, like complete disinfectants. I think that they're doing their part right now because they know that they have to stay open to survive. And so they kind of have to, they can't fail on any of those sort of safety protocols, because if they do, if any sort of like lawsuit or anything comes out of that, then they are fucked.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they are
that's the
fucking
end.
royally screwed. So I actually trust the theater chains more than I probably ever have to be good. But my big problem is I don't trust the general public. I just don't trust people to be decent people and to wear a fucking mask. Because that's the thing is there are much worse situations. I feel like I've been to a few, unfortunately. But so case in point, like I don't try to put myself in any sort of social situation. I haven't like gone out to eat I've been out to eat like twice since this whole thing started, and it's been in the past month, and once was for work. But I went to pick up beer at Civil Society right when they said that they could reopen before they reclosed them.
Yeah, I was
And,
there
like,
like that same right before 4th of July.
Yeah, reclassified.
Yeah.
And the place was fucking packed.
Oh, wow.
It was packed and nobody was wearing a fucking mask. So I like walked around the wall in there. I was like, here's my
Ooh.
card. Here's my pickup. I walked straight out of there. I was just like, whatever. I was like, no fucking way I'm going back there. And then they had to end up closing down again.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, that's the problem. Like that, and I'm with you. Like we're relying on people to be their best selves, and they just have proven themselves, especially where we are. You know, we just have people that just I was talking to someone, a friend of mine who's actually a different doctor friend, the other day, and I was just like, I never in my life thought I'd live to a point where, like, common decency about, like, the well-being of others would be politicized to the point at which people just took the other, like, just took the opposite viewpoint just to have that. And it, like, the idea of, like, you know, the mask or not mask thing, and it's like, who, like, even if it's not 100%, even if it's not 50%, like, it's such a small ask. And to have people make it this is like this big stand, this big, and it's like, what happened to our society that, like, you can't just like yeah, if I wanted to go see a movie, I would put a mask on. I don't enjoy wearing the mask. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
I have to buy like ones that fit my weird shaped face and my beard, and I've gotten ones that I finally like, I kind of enjoy that make my day okay. But no, I don't enjoy wearing them. They're not fun for me. I don't like it at all. I don't breathe well in them, but it's like, it's the least thing I can do to not potentially spread a deadly illness. And like, that's just crazy to me. And I'm like, I would hope that people that were so passionate about going to the movies would also be level-headed thinking people like that. And that's really the sad part, is that there are a lot of things we are missing out on right now because people can't just sacrifice a little bit. Just a,
When people
a
would
little
sacrifice a little bit for 1 month, and
Yes.
nobody would have a fucking problem.
Yeah, and like that, and that's what's crazy about all of this is, you know, when we had this conversation in April, I think, it was kind of like, okay, well, the movie theaters are going to be open in a month, and, you know, we're going to see, but that happened for a half a minute, and then it was like, nope, can't do that. That's like, we screwed that one up, closed that back down again, and that's where we're at. But I definitely don't think that cinema is dead in any way, shape, or form. I think the one thing that I've gleaned out of this, and I kind of hope it's sort of where we go, and this is a tough thing to say, is that the same as not every movie deserves to be nominated for Best Picture. Not every movie needs to be seen in the theater, and I think that's and that's not to demean smaller movies, but
No, but I also think that definitely kind of qualifies the paradigm shift towards the premium VOD.
yes,
Because I think that there's actually kind of a weird medium there. A movie like Bill and Ted, like, that's perfect for premium VOD.
Yep.
Because you're going to attract a very specific audience that's interested in watching it kind of on their own, you know, on their own terms, at their own time. However, I think that if you're like gonna sort of denigrate any sort of film, like an actual film, like if it's a P.T. Anderson film that has
Sure.
a $4 million budget, and you're not showing that on a big screen, yes, I think that that's going to be a detriment to that film. I think that what we're going to find over the course of the next few years is some clarity, and I think a true path of, like, people are going to start making films understanding that they're only going to VOD.
yes,
Like like this is a VOD movie, and I think that they're going to start building in agreements saying, like with with Netflix, like what Netflix has done, but it's going to be with a Prime, or it's going to be with a CBS All Access, or it's going to be with a Peacock or whatever. It's like we're making this. We're starting pre-production, understanding that this is going to be a streaming or
and budget accordingly.
And budget accordingly. And that not only allows for those to have their space sort of in that, on that platform, but it allows better bandwidth for films that should have a theatrical experience, including these small indies.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up more screens for those, and for them to push those out a little bit more delicately into the market and allow those to have people to have the kind of the big theatrical experience. Because I mean, honestly, some of the better theatrical experiences I've ever had watching films, they aren't event films.
Sure.
They're beautiful. Seeing Elephant in the theater was one of the most fucking life-changing experiences I've ever had.
Well, and when you talk about, I mean, P.T. Anderson's a great example of a small filmmaker whose films play better, on watching There Will Be Blood on a big screen,
and they're shot in like anamorphic,
cinematic, yeah. And I think that's the important designation. I agree with you. I think it opens the field up. I think it opens up smaller, low budget films to get made, to go straight to instead of it used to be this idea of straight to video was a slight, right? That was like, oh my God, this thing just like went straight to video. It's some cheap Cinemax, whatever thing, versus that's not what it is now. And these movies find audiences much easier on these platforms, especially where you're getting like recommended for, and like, oh, hey, we know your viewing behavior. You're going to fucking love this movie.
Yeah. Like analytics have completely changed the game.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important designation. And not every studio is going to make the right decision about what deserves to be on the big screen and what doesn't. And there are going to be things that fall between the cracks.
They're going to be ones where they make the exact wrong decision, where it's like, this could have been better for a theatrical experience.
Yeah, like I mean, I loved Roma on Netflix. I probably would have liked to watch Roma on a big screen.
I mean, it was on the big screen for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't, and like and that's the thing is a lot of times they will find a way to do both, when and if they can, if you really want to track these things down on big screen. But yeah, I think I'm not afraid of on demand and VOD and any of these platforms stealing cinema away from me. I think there's always going to be a need and an audience to go. I mean, we're sitting here talking about how can we go back to the movies. We're not like, there's a lot of things we're not talking about. We're not sitting here like worried about how we get back to bars and restaurants. I mean, we thought about these things, but like the thing like that we actually gets us talking is like, how do we?
Oh no, it's how do
I go and see a movie again? Like I want to like
I can drink as much beer as I need at home.
This is true. Yeah, the breweries are doing just fine right now, but it's kind of crazy.
They're not all doing that well, but.
This is true. But I've never been worried. I mean, listen, movies are not the only thing that have a future up, not their future up in the air, but at least what's going to happen. I mean, sports is going through a lot of issues right now. There's live theater, which is a major question for people right now. There's concerts, there's festivals, there all kinds of things. I mean, concerts are like, that's another one that's just, and concerts is another one of those things that's so sad that should be the easiest thing to be able to go back to doing right now. Look at Chappelle's special, where he does his small stand-up and he has a small number of people there and they're all distanced out in their chairs, like in couplets of all that stuff.
Yeah, of course, but
like, this idea, like people are like freaking out, like, oh, we're never gonna be able to go to concerts again. It's like, no, you can't go to concerts like you used to for a little while. Like that's the thing. You could go to a concert if you could not be that asshole. Like you could keep yourself from running down into a mosh pit or cramming together or getting there. If you could just sit there and space out and watch and enjoy your music, you could have your music. Like
you listen to much different music than I do, Matt.
This is also very true. I'm the worst person to be speaking about concerts possibly. But yeah, to me right now, like a social distance concert sounds like the greatest marriage of things I love live music. I hate concerts. I hate people. I hate being packed in with people. I hate being smushed up and stuff. I want to just sit and listen to the music. That's my side of it. But yeah, I am very hopeful for the future of cinema. I would love to go back and sit in a movie theater, and it's a great experience. And what's sad is that I also, the one thing that is not going to happen for a while that I do miss is I do miss going to see a big movie with a big crowd. Like that, I will always watch that movie another time because I hate missing something in a movie, but there is something about going to an event movie.
Yeah, I mean that was the fun about going to those Marvel movies.
Yeah,
with a big crowd. Where
even
it's just
like
people are reacting.
You, me, and Beth going to see the re-release of Jurassic Park, and that was like a pretty full theater, and we got to see good crowd reactions in that. Like seeing certain movies just with a crowd and watching people gasp at things and cheer for things and laugh at things is great. It's just
having
gonna be
that one
while.
person in the audience go, "Oh hell no!"
Or the kid that like started to lose their shit in Jurassic Park, and I just remember like turning to my left, where your wife was sitting, and her just going, which is phenomenal.
Or sitting next to a kid who is talking to his dad during the movie Up and not really understanding what's happening.
God, that is still that honestly was like an empty theater. There were only maybe 10 of us in there, but
She died.
She died. Is mommy gonna die? Okay, you gotta get like. I've never seen a dad like go through complete meltdown and run out of a theater with their kid so quick in my entire life.
That's
But
so funny.
I still will. I will. That poor bastard. I really. I had a like the night before that movie. I had a date go bad that involved a vomiting incident. That was really terrible, and I was like literally doing cleanup that morning.
Was that the one on the side of the road?
No, it was a
the
different one. That's happened to me twice.
station?
No, this one was in the parking garage in Delray Beach. And yeah, they had a problem. And so I went and got my car cleaned that morning, and then went and met my brother to go see Up. So I was having a rough morning and after a rough evening, and that day is still just solidified with that poor kid watching the beginning of Up and not understanding what's going on, and a dad trying to explain death and how everyone dies and how, well, no, mommy's not going to die. We have to leave. Like missed the whole part of the movie the kid probably would have loved, but just to get through that, like, they should have had a warning for some parents, be like, hey, bring your kid in after the first like 20 minutes of this movie. You don't want no part of this, Dewey Cox.
It's kind of like Into the Woods. It's just like, hey kids, leave after the first act.
Yeah, it's just one act. There's no second act. Get out of here. Get out of here, kid.
You know, we literally did that at our school.
You did just the first act?
No. So what we did is because we did Into the Woods with our entire school in the auditorium. Then all the elementary school kids left, and we did the second act with only the middle and high school kids.
Ours had a different problem. The first night we did the show, we lost half our audience at intermission. And we're like, what happened? And we realized they didn't understand there was an act 2. So literally, like, not half, but probably a quarter of our audience left. So we had to add an announcement that there'll be a 15 intermission followed by the second act of Into the Woods. Don't miss the thrilling conclusion, and watch the Baker warble through no more. And so yeah, we lost some folks. It didn't go so well for us.
No more giants.
Please. Yeah. A phenomenal failure at our school. But anyway, yeah, I think Tenet and Mulan, a lot is hinging on what happens with these two movies right now. I think the Bond movie, which is scheduled for November.
Yeah, November.
Now, I think that's going to be a pretty good test as well. You got like coming up on Thanksgiving holiday stuff.
I find it interesting that apparently New Mutants did better than they expected to.
Yeah, it did.
It like $7 or $8 million like over the course of the last weekend, which is crazy.
Well, I think that's the other thing is you're also going to find a lot less crowding of stuff, that it's just going to be like, hey, here's like kind of like it used to be.
Yeah.
Like here's
a
one movie. And this is the movie that plays for 2 weeks, and then when that movie's done, you get you earn another movie, and then you get another one after that, and see how that goes. Because I think right now people are starved for. Some people are just going to go see a movie in the theater to go see a movie in the theater. Like that's the.
So on the starved for content thing, I'm going to take a quick aside.
Yeah.
So guess what my wife and I have been binging?
I do not know.
Cobra Kai.
Oh,
So
you were mentioning this. My brother's doing that too.
Well, so the ironic thing is that when Cobra Kai first came out, which was early last year,
A while? No.
yeah,
I thought it was older than that.
Early last year, the year before that, but they've already done 2 seasons,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're working on their third or whatever. They're going to release their third, but with the first season, they made it available for free for just like 5 days. So at lunch at work for 5 days straight, I would watch an episode like while I ate. And so I watched the first 5. I was like, yeah, this is fun. It's like totally disposable or whatever. And then all of a sudden it gets transferred to Netflix after, the YouTube thing kind of goes upside down. And Beth watches the first episode and she's just like,
Nice.
and I was like,
Nice.
okay, we've watched 7 episodes in the last 2 days.
They're only like
It's
30
just
minutes,
like-
my brother said, right?
Oh yeah, we're just
Yeah.
plowing through them.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. Once I learned it was 30 minutes, that also like got me into wanting to watch it for sure.
That just came out and is giving me the eye.
Because she heard Cobra Kai.
Oh, was it?
No
was it
mercy.
bad?
Yes,
wasn't a bad
Sensei.
thing.
Does Beth make you say yes, Sensei in bed now? Yes, Sensei. Sorry, Sensei. Or does she ask you to sweep the leg?
I'm gonna ask her to sweep the leg.
Yes, Sensei. Sorry, Sensei. I have heard nothing but good things on.
No, it really is. It's so much better than it has to be because the makers of it are so beholden to the original, and it's so earnest, but they know it's a joke. Like they kind of know it's like not shouldn't be taken too seriously, so it ends up being great.
That is almost verbatim my brother's consensus on it as well. So yeah, I held off for a while, but learning that it's 30 minutes, I'm kind of looking for a good 30-minute one to break into. I know The Boys starts up again this weekend, but it's also like now I'm also in that shitty like binge mode of like, oh, the Amazon Prime only releases like 1 or 2, and then it's like then you get them on a weekly schedule, and I'm like, I can't go back to the old ways. Like I don't really know how to watch these things and like where I don't remember anything that happened and I'm just through the show before it's even I know it's over.
And that's the problem with like Lovecraft Country right now. It's just like, well, we have to fucking wait every week to watch Lovecraft Country.
So and actually just to talk about Lovecraft Country for just a second, what I do like about that is I'm super excited to watch new episodes, but it really does, even though it's a singular-ish story, it feels so much like episode. Like they really have. I've rarely seen a show absolutely straddle the line between procedural and episodic. Like or serialized. Like it is so close to both that you could literally watch because they give you all kinds of hints every episode of what happened before.
Yeah, it's like an ongoing series where you're like supposed to unravel this big mystery, but they're still Monster of the Week episodes.
Yeah, like and big time. I mean, especially. I mean, this was a phenomenally good. I also had to like replay the Ouija board scene to see what it was actually spelling out, which was all like super cruel. I don't know if you like.
Everyone thought I was going to say Tupac.
What?
Tupac.
What? Is that a what? Is that a joke?
No.
Why was it going to say Tupac?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am so lost right now.
I'm literally thinking of another series.
Okay. It's like they're in the 60s. Why?
I'm joking.
Why? What is happening?
I'm joking to some extent, but listen to this. Do you remember? Do you remember the episode?
Oh my god, man! I don't know how you're pulling out of this one, but I want to watch you walk this tightrope.
No, but actually, do you remember that? It's because I just had show clash. Do you remember the episode of You're the Worst where they do the Sunday Fun Day and they go to where Biggie died,
Yes,
and they have the thing and it starts saying Tupac,
dude.
and it says "two bag" or something like that.
Ben, you're the only human being on the entire planet I know that could conflate Lovecraft Country and You're the Worst in like somehow in their brain that it's
I'm happy.
they're
about that.
so diametrically different properties.
There's 2 shows we've been binging.
How far are you through You're the Worst, by the way?
On 3rd season or episodes like 2 or something
Nice.
like that.
Yeah. As we've recommended in the show before, watch You're the Worst. Ben's just now getting through that one. You know, there's only 5? 4? 5?
Yeah, 5 seasons.
But yeah, awesome show. Yeah.
It's not it's a hard watch though.
Yes, it is. I don't think I could have binged that show.
It started out really kind of like light and then airy, and then it just turned to
Well, because you went season 2 is like way down. Like, yeah, season 2 is hard. Season 2 is also hard if you've known people that are going through the things that the people on that show are going through, that you're like because they write a topic that's very often written into movies and TV shows, and it's overblown and over the top, and it's not realistic at all. And they actually went the realistic route, which is like 100 times harder to watch and swallow. But yeah, that show it really is one of a handful of shows I will say is unlike anything else I watched on TV, and that I felt that they did things and went places with characters that I never thought they'd get away with, and for 5 seasons.
And has a great theme song by Sloth Rust, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, that was I think the most excited Ben has ever seen me is he had a playlist set for me driving out. I think we're going to a football game. I think we're going to the Dolphins Ravens game.
Yeah, we were.
And we're heading down towards my brother's, and this song came on that Ben had picked on it, and I was like, I know this from the moving pictures on my TV tube. And
I'm gonna leave you anyway.
And all they do is play like a 10 seconds of it for the theme song.
Except for the last episode of the first season where they play the whole song.
Yeah, it's good shit. But anyway, I think the message is the future of movies is still
The message is loud and clear.
we are going back to the movies at some point. Until then, we're going to go to the drive-in and do that and try to make it, because I really do. I want to see Tenet. I'd like to see it on a large screen, even if it's at a drive-in and I'm not getting the best sound and whatever else. I'll go check it out, and Bond too.
Hop in my car, buddy. We got them good subwoofers.
I have a Harman Kardon.
I guarantee you that your sound system is much better than mine.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see Tenet, and I think Bond is another one that I would go and watch, in a drive-in and catch on a big screen.
I think that Bond might be my first trip to the actual movies, which I'm assuming by that point there's going to be a little bit more normalcy kind of resuming, where people are going to have understood sort of what the boundaries are, what the protocols are. And I think I will go get my popcorn, and I will sit down in the movie theater and I will watch Bond.
I think I will. I might do that, but I'm definitely going to be like the 11 a.m. like Tuesday morning.
Well, and that was actually that was actually what the other thing I meant to mention to you is because this past weekend, a friend of mine came down from Georgia, one of my beer trade buddies, Eric Olson, and because his wife was working in town for the weekend, and we went to Civil Society at noon on Sunday. There was nobody there. We still sat outside. We still moved outside and like sat outside and socially distanced and everything like that. I had never felt like more safe in like a social setting, that everyone was wearing masks and stuff like that. And it was just like, yeah, we were like apart. I brought him a barbecue sandwich or like whatever when they hung out there. And then I left half an hour later. And that was perfectly, I felt totally safe, totally fine. Like we had complete control over the situation. I just don't want to be in a place where it's filled with a bunch of fucking assholes.
Well, I think, and I've thought about that actually, even with Copper Point, because they've got that, because I've gone to Copper Point on Sunday during busy season, and like Sunday at noon or Friday at noon or something when they opened up, and there's been the only person there.
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
like,
Yeah,
and you go sit outside.
I guarantee you right now, you could go to Copper Point, and I know Mike, who's the head brewer there. If you went there like at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on an afternoon, on a random afternoon, you're going to be fine. You're going to have your own little space. If somebody else comes in anywhere within 20 yards of you, you can go outside if you want to.
I just start coughing and sneezing and, making a.
I don't think those people care.
No, no. It's I'm
the Copper Point's one of the only places I've actually been to. I actually had a beer at Copper Point while I was grabbing some bottles and stuff like that because nobody was there.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm inside. I'm alone. I'm gonna have a beer.
Might as well. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I think we're all working up to movies, and I do like that it really does also come down to like, what are the movies that will get you to go to it? What are the movies that are so you have to see right now that you will actually risk that for? So let's see what happens with Mulan and Tenet. We'll definitely talk about the follow up on that on our next podcast.
If all of the theaters shut back down, I would like to claim my my throne for the next film I will go see in theaters is Dune.
Ooh, yeah, I am with you on that. That is like way up on my list. Yeah. Shit, that looks. I can't wait.
Well, there's gonna be a trailer this week.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw Oscar Isaac was talking about that. But yeah, that Dune movie just sounds like holy shit. No offense to David Lynch for that terrible Dune movie. But I love that book. I honestly the sci-fi miniseries of the first book they did is actually a pretty damn good adaptation.
The one with William Hurt?
Yes. It's a really good. It's just the effects are terrible. The cinematography is terrible. Like there's no budget. Like the sci-fi. So like I like to see
2001.
Yeah, it was back. Yeah, it was old. But I don't think we watched that in college in our in the apartment.
2001. I'm pretty sure it's the year that came out.
But yeah, I'm super excited. That's such a great fit for Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve. Yeah, I think the better French Nolan. For Villeneuve. Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, listen, I love Nolan. But Villeneuve's got a pretty phenomenal track record of just beautiful movies. I give him the edge. I'm not saying there's 50 fucking directors ahead of Chris Nolan, but I think
you're saying one of those 50 directors is Denis Villeneuve.
One of them. God damn it. He's a great fucking filmmaker. He does great scores. They're different. They're different. Whatever. Anyway,
They're different.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the New Wave Podcast. We'll be back hopefully with some quicker, less time between episodes coming up again as we now reach into month 6 or whatever it is of the COVID nightmare. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Cheers.